Who would care for me? Family caregivers for older adults. Have you ever thought about this growing up? Who will I marry? Will I have children? What type of career will I have? Will I be a social worker? How about this? Who's going to care for my parents when they get older? And an even better one is, who's going to care for me when I get older? Older adults are usually the age of 65 and older. And they're beginning to go through more life changes. And that could be for the better, but it also opened up doors for challenges. And the challenges are things like health issues, and it could be the loss of their self-sufficiency, or even independency. There's legal and ethical consideration that comes along with becoming older adults. And an even bigger one is the one of the long-term care. They have to think about, am I going to keep living independent? Am I going to need some type of assistance? And does that mean I'm going to have to move into a facility and leave my home? Or will I be able to get somebody to be a caregiver to me, and I could stay in my house and they could care for me? Or am I going to get an aide that comes and goes, but they will help care for me as well? Being a family caregiver meaning you just identify yourself as that person who accepted that responsibility to provide care for that older adult. You could be a family member that's immediate or extended, like your children, your spouse, extended family like cousins or uncles or aunt, even friends who are not technically family, but have been around and love and care about you in your life, and they want to step up and become a caregiver to that person. The services or the support that comes with being a caregiver is exactly that. They're going to support a person emotionally and socially. They're going to make sure that they're okay. They're going to be that person there to talk with them. That person who's there to support them as all these changes are taking place. They're going to help make decisions for this person, like financial decisions, the decision of their health, and maybe even decision about what's happening to them at their end of their life. They'll help the person with activities of daily living like grooming, eating, housekeeping. They'll help them navigate resources. And another important thing, they help with living arrangements, meaning moving them in with them or moving them out and moving into their place with the older adult. Or even another hard decision could be moving them into assisted living. Family caregivers have benefits and they have issues, pros and cons. The benefit of being a family caregiver is you know this person is safe. They're with somebody who they know, who knows them. It's not as expensive being a family caregiver as it would be paying for someone to live in a facility. They get to watch the older adult's health and make sure that they're getting the things that they need, like medication and going to doctor visit. And sometimes there's resources that's available for people who care for people within their home that they might not be qualified for or be able to receive if they were to be living somewhere else like a facility. Some of the issues that come along with being a family caregiver is your life. The person who's caring for this older adult is basically giving up a big part of their social life, their freedom. Once they're committed to providing care for this older adult, they're there with them. They're not enjoying friends like they used to. They're not enjoying their spouse sometime like they used to, unless they have that type of support, their children. It's extra responsibilities. It takes away from the responsibility they already have. If they're a caregiver that goes to work, have to come home and provide care, or they're a caregiver that gives up their job so that they could concentrate and provide this older adult with care. It could become very stressful and it could burn them out because this is extra responsibility, or a lot more responsibility. And it's most definitely a change for the person who is providing care. They're doing something that they probably haven't done before, or they're doing more of something that they've done before, but they're doing it even more. And sometimes they forget about caring for themselves. Social support and subjective burden is something that, like what I just talked about. Social support is like, somebody is there, it's somebody who cares for me, they value me, they love us. This is what caregivers need. When they decide that they're going to care for this older adult, they need someone who's going to be there to support them and value them and love them for what they're doing, for what they've done. They need it just like the older adult is getting that support. Or the burden, they're changing, they're fatigued, they're stressed. They're no longer interacting with people like they used to. They're changing who they are, and it may very well affect their self-esteem. They're not the same person they used to be. And sometimes the support that they get is limited. People might get tired of waiting around and helping them out because most of their time has been given to this older adult, and it doesn't seem like they are able to give back. It's a big consideration to take because it is changing not only their lives that are touching their life as well. So as I spoke about before, there are other home care providers. I spoke about home health aides that come in and do the same thing, but maybe not as much as a care provider because they're come in part-time and sometimes they are able to be full-time. You have professional caregivers that comes out to the home, like a visiting nurse or rehabilitation therapy or physical therapy. People who come into the home and provide that same service that they will provide outside of the home, they come in so that the person doesn't have to travel. And then you do have social workers who are healthcare social workers who monitor the services and the resources and give out referrals. And they're not only there to watch the older adult, but they're also there to help with the caregiver and the relationship they have with the older adult, and also their physical and mental health of the person providing the care. Social worker and family caregiving comes in, you look at it in two areas. The practice of it, and as you can see from my PowerPoint presentation, it talks about the implication of practice, not only for the individual, but for the family as a whole. And when it comes to policy, of course, the government is always in need of adding something to help people as they change their life. So being a caregiver and a social worker, it would make sense to advocate for support for family caregivers through the development of appropriate caregiving policies that, especially for those who are providing care for someone in-house, like financial stipends or health insurance. Because if I'm not working, I'm not getting health insurance. So maybe being a caregiver inside, providing care to an older adult that would cost more money if you put them in a facility, maybe I could get some health insurance to make sure I am able to continue to be healthy while I care for them. And, social work with family caregivers and other professionals to do a person and family-centered care. And as you can see from the next slide, person and family-centered care right here recognizes the family as a whole, as well as the care provider. It's the individual care for the older adult. It's the people who are helping to care for them. It's the providers who provide the cares. It's extended families, and it's just come right back around in this full circle. And some of these things that are listed up here, that's a part of the person and family-centered care, relates back to the our social worker code of ethics and what we want to be able to provide to anybody that we service. So right here, I just have some of the national codes of ethics and family caregivers. So when I was actually doing my research to find information about this, I came across a manual that was dedicated to families of older adults and that are providing care to them. And as it relates to social work, as you can see right here, it was developed for the standards for social work with family caregivers or older adult, and it was amazing. You could get it online. I would definitely tell you to look it up because it just gives you a look at how each of these ethical values, ethics and the values of it relates to the family as a unit, meaning the older adult and the person who's caring for them, and services and social justice and the human dignity and worth. All of this still mean the same, and what it does is it comes together so that it fits for one. So while we're caring about the health of the older adult and everything, they're concerned about the relationship and the health and the respect that the person who's providing the care is getting. They want to assess the needs. They want to make sure everybody is getting what they need, because when you're giving and you're not receiving, that could make a bigger concern. So if there's services that me as a caregiver could get from referrals and resources given to me by the social worker, it benefits me. And at the same time, I'm able to better care for the older adult because I'm sure that they'll be providing me with the same thing. And as always, they're advocating that everyone is treated fair, that there are policies in places, that the older adult is getting the things that they're entitled to, that they need. Always advocating for a better quality of life for anyone that's doing anything, especially with older adults and the caregiver within the family unit. So right here are the references and where I got it. And again, I would ask that you definitely look at the National Association for Social Worker and this social work practice with family caregiver, because it was a really interesting read for me. And as social workers, and we're moving forward, it's amazing. They have a lot of different tailored practices that relates to the code of ethics, that depending on what you're trying to do. I came across a lot of them and was really interested, and I would ask that you just give thought to this, like not just for yourself, but if you have older adults who's going to get old, think about how they're going to be cared for. And taking this class helps me even more because I have parents who aged and we're caring for them, and we cared for one that passed away. But nonetheless, each time I do this, and my field placement was in working with older adults, seniors, and I see this every day, that they're there living independently and they do need assistance with living, and they just don't have people who could be caregivers to them. Talking with people about moving them to a place where they could get that assistance or get an aide to come in depending on their needs is much different than I actually have a family member, someone who knows me, who cares about me, that's going to come in and help me with the later days of my life, care for me. And I must say, I'm very empathetic to quite a few of the seniors who doesn't have that type of support. And one of the things that I did was to make sure that I can just assist them with getting the best support system that they can, the best type of services that they can, quality of life, being so they are older adults. So doing this presentation was a big thing for me, and it's something to think about. It's not just for older adults, it's for people with disabilities, even children. How, as caregivers, we're just caring for everybody. And so we're going to meet people of all ages who may need someone to just care for them because they can't care for themselves. And it's just happened to be that I was doing older adults. So I hope I shared some information with you that you didn't know. And I hope that you would take the opportunity to actually go online and get this manual. It's very interesting. And thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.